talk about avian influenza, and I thought might as well get it from the source itself. First, I gotta get on my PPE. I decided with this hat because I want to dress like their victims. Oh. No. I gotta just fit in with their culture, I think. How do I look? Camera.
Really good.
Thank you.
Really protected.
Next. My American boots, alright? And this will also help with if they are pooping everywhere, if the influenza can transmit through their feces. Right, camera person?
Correct.
Okay, hello. I had a little update. So I am putting on boots, some gloves, and a hat for silly little funny business. People who work directly with chickens and dairy cows and whatever do not use PPE as silly funny business. It is a real thing. So PPE is personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment will reduce direct transmission of the virus between you and the animal, other animals, etc., etc. So this virus will travel through. So hold on. I hope you didn't miss me too much. Here I am. Will travel through like contaminated surfaces or direct contact, like I said. It could also be transferred through their bodily fluids, such as feces, which I do briefly talk about, but also like any other respiratory stuff, like if they sneeze and there's mucus, But like, for example, this goose could do what a goose does and poop in a pond. Okay. This dairy cow could drink from that pond. Then a farmer who is going through the pasture, like giving out feed and stuff, drives to the next farm to do the other chores, and on those tires were cow poop, and now these chickens have it, and it's on the farmer's shoes, and now they want to go home to the cat, and they have this too, this evil virus. But basically PPE is to protect you from transmission of this virus. I am mainly joking, but I did wear the boots for a reason. I'm not holding the chicken, so I really didn't need the gloves. But when I was in the field with the flock of geese, there was poop everywhere. So, yeah, little update from that. I risked my life for this. I'm kidding. All right, let's get on with this video.
This camera person I found off the street, but she's doing an amazing job, and she will be credited in the video, maybe. Gloves. I think that's pretty obvious. It's direct transmission. All right. Back at Trader Joe's bag, my shoes go. Let's go ask them what they think of avian influenza. Oh God, I'm embarrassed. Right. So avian influenza, it's influenza A. A lot of these birds will probably carry like H5N1, which, the H and the N's are.
So one more thing, when I talk about H5N1, which is like the main avian flu, H is hemagglutinin and N is neuraminidase, which I'm butchering that name, but that's what the H and N mean, and they bind to different receptors on the virus itself. So there's different clades, and the different clades have different H's and N's, different amounts, where they're at, etc., etc. So that's the differentiating factor between like H5N1 and H1N1. You know what I mean?
Different receptor type of things. I'm so scared. Okay, so also the ironic thing is I'm scared of birds. Right, here we go. If you hear me. Didn't even get a chance. So
It's okay, they're right there.
for protection, I need you to be right by. I think they scared me of my. What do you think of avian influenza? Okay, that's all we'll be doing today. Let's go to our next primary source.
Okay, first of all, who am I with?
My name is Jenna.
Jenna. And what did you do?
Well, formerly I was an avian research associate.
Mm-hmm.
Is the title. Basically, I worked with avian disease surveillance. So I was out in the field. I worked with a team of veterinarians that basically did avian flu surveillance and research. So spent all my days with birds
Mm-hmm.
researching avian influenza.
So like on a day, like what did you do?
On a day.
On a
It
day.
could range on a day. On any
On a day.
on every day. I spent most of my time putting swabs into birds' mouths and collecting their saliva to test for avian flu, and did that anywhere and everywhere across the entire state, with the goal of basically testing every chicken and duck and pheasant and peacock and type of farm bird in the state, so that if there was ever avian flu
Like an
popping
outbreak.
up, we found it.
And this might be a
birds.
stupid question, but like testing for the virus, like is that like all avian influenza, like the H5?
Not a stupid question. The initial surveillance test is you're just testing for the presence of any avian influenza, and then if it were to come back positive, we would do further testing for what strain, H5, etc.
I mean, testing for the virus, you are exposed to the virus if one of the chickens had it.
Potentially.
So
yes.
what like preventative measures did you take?
Great question. So we did take a lot of biosecurity measures, fancy word for basically prevention of spread of disease. But I always made jokes with the kids. I would go to their farms, and it's like kids that had chickens, and I would joke with them that like, this is not my normal outfit that I wear every day. I look funny when I come here, because we would wear like full bibs, coveralls, full boots, gloves, sometimes masks, not always. The like respiratory transmission from birds to humans is pretty low unless they are like actively sick birds. So if we were ever testing birds that actively were like showing signs of respiratory illness, that would change too. But and then we had like a dedicated car, so anytime we went anywhere where birds existed, we had a car that was only for that would get washed in between every visit. Everything that we would bring to farms was like contained in sanitizable bins. Everything was single use. We basically had a big lab in the back of our car where like everything was super secure and sanitized. I like wiped down even my glasses and things after every visit. We like basically washed our entire bodies and changed clothes in driveways as soon as we were done interacting with birds. So
it sounds intense, which I wish you would have worn that now, but
no. And honestly, I asked if I should change into the coveralls. They were pretty cool. They were green.
The coveralls are here?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that you could have had a costume change, actually.
I'll go grab them for an end bit, but go Rams. They were green coveralls.
But now you're wearing your little College of...
Just repping the vest.
Repping the vest.
Yeah. I did not wear this around birds, or I wouldn't.
I was going to say, like, my experience, like, I was pretty naive. I didn't really know much about it, but I feel like, especially in the recent years, it's been an issue. So I went to Zoo Academy at a high school, and I worked with desert mammals, but also there was birds there, like roadrunners and whatnot.
So this clip is from KMTV3 News Now, Omaha. These are some of the birds that I have worked with. Specifically, the one in the first clip that we just passed by is my favorite one. It is frogmouth, but here are some of the birds.
And animal professionals to determine the best action to take to keep all the animals healthy, including closely watching food sources for big cats and other animals at the zoo, making sure there is no contaminated meat.
But I remember that I would change out of my shoes and I had boots, but then I would also put a wrap in the boots, and I would also have this like preventative headgear, direct transmission, but through your eyes and what you breathe in and whatnot too.
Yep.
So
basically any area where there's liquid or an opening. But like
for lack of better terms,
respiratory and eye is like the main mode of transmission.
But also transmission could be between like a cat and dead birds too.
Yeah, but kind of the same transmission. So respiratory and eye, and poop. And so if any other animal comes in contact with scientifically, feces, thank you. I said poop because you said poop. So
scat.
Not for birds.
Not really? Oh, I actually didn't know that. Learning opportunity.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm not an expert. We'll have to Google that one. But yes, like transmission, any animal that then comes in contact with respiratory fluid particles can contract it, whether dead or alive.
So within your testing, have you had positive tests for chickens and whatnot? And then what do you do from there?
Yeah, good question. I mean, over my 10 years, we definitely did have some tests that would come back
10 years.
positive. I know.
Just kidding.
Don't age me.
Ooh. Just kidding, just kidding.
But yeah, it was a pretty intense protocol. If there ever
Yes.
was like a positive, again, that initial test was like a surveillance for any avian flu. And so there's, with any test, there's always some likelihood of like a false positive or another respiratory illness that can influence that test. But if there ever was a positive on that surveillance, so again, this surveillance was like routine testing. It's not like one where we're expecting to find it. We're just screening.
Yeah. And you're going around Colorado?
Yep.
Okay.
Everywhere in Colorado.
And this is, you're with CSU?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So it was just like routine screening we did over and over. And so it wasn't like we were ever expecting a positive. Whereas like if we were testing sick birds, we'd maybe be looking for like, maybe there will be. So if we got a positive result on that like routine surveillance, then it kind of shifted protocol. Usually whatever farm or event or wherever that bird was from would have some sort of biosecurity like hold lockdown where we want to make sure that those birds aren't coming into contact with any other birds until we do further testing. So that was a big thing. And then, like we said before, we would do kind of further testing where that result would get sent to a national lab to be retested and confirm if it was actually positive. And if it was, it'd go to further testing to look at strains. And depending on those results, obviously that could turn into a much bigger thing, because if we found a highly pathogenic strain of avian influenza, then it becomes national protocol.
I feel like that takes a lot of time from finding it to testing.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's expedited because we obviously, once you have found it, you want to make sure it's not spreading. So it would be expedited as much as possible, but it could be like a week or two for all of those steps. And so that's why it's really important in that interim. We'd make sure that those birds did not go anywhere or see anyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what's the protocol for them during that time? Like, just, like, kind of like a quarantine?
I was gonna say, the fancy word. It's a quarantine. So, and that quarantine, depending on the results, is usually like mandated because avian influenza is the pathogenic disease that it is. And so, usually if it originated like at a backyard flock, like that farm would be quarantined. Birds couldn't move in or out. They'd have pretty strict protocols until the testing was complete.
I was going to say, that's like the next thing I was going to talk about, because you tested all around Colorado. And quarantining, that could mean many different things for many different people. It could be just like a backyard farmer who's like, oh, that's easy peasy, or an industry. Or they could also be like next to dairy cattle. And I know dairy cattle can get avian influenza. I mean, there was last year there was a whole herd, and it costed them like $400,000 to treat all the heifers. What's your experience with that? Like, where is it most common? Is there a difference between a big industry versus backyard farming?
Totally. And there's a pretty huge range in Colorado with like flock size. And so, I mean, in terms of most common, it's hard to say. It just varies depending on the year and kind of what happens and movement of birds. But it is pretty common that like when we've seen positive results in that surveillance, that it's in smaller backyard flocks.
Really? And that's just because they're more exposed to water birds or waterfowl or whatever?
Potentially, yeah. A lot of like commercial birds have these biosecurity measures already in place. And so the really common ways that we see exposure are already mitigated on that industrial level. Exposure to wild birds is really minimal because they're raised indoors with specific types of ventilation, versus backyard chickens that are just wandering around and like a geese flies over and a goose, multiple geese, one singular geese flies over, and like you can't prevent that if you've just got chickens wandering around your property. So that exposure is like way more common. So that could be why
Mhm.
we see a lot more in backyard flocks just because that biosecurity isn't already in place.
Yeah.
Despite another big part of my job was like educating on what that should look like, even if you
Mhm.
have 4 chickens in a tiny little coop in your yard, what things you can and should be doing
Mhm.
to have that biosecurity.
And you saying that you like a lot of your job was educating, like you educated just like farmers and the public. Like how do you
Yeah.
reach out to them? How do you get their attention?
Yeah. Well, a lot of what I did, like with the surveillance, when we would go to people's farms and be testing their birds, we did a lot of that education and would work with them on their setup and what they had going on and make recommendations for things they could implement to increase their biosecurity. So that was one. But I also did a lot of just presentations throughout the state talking about avian disease and the common diseases and what people can do. Especially in like recent years where like having backyard chickens was like a really popular thing and really increased.
COVID,
But a lot
thank
of
you.
people didn't know that like, hey, birds actually are like they carry a lot of
Nasty.
disease and they're like low-key kind of disgusting. But
Low key though.
like if you don't know that
Yeah.
and you just grab a few from the store and start raising birds and you don't know that there's a lot of that risk. So that was a lot of the work we did too, was to teach people, hey, wear separate shoes when you go
Yeah.
see your birds.
Well, you have a diagram. Like, are you gonna
Ooh.
teach us a little something?
Okay, well, I was a bird expert, not an artist.
Here we
My
go.
half-done diagram.
Here we go.
This is I was trying to draw from memory a really elaborate slide I used to have when I taught children actually about how to raise their chickens with biosecurity. Basically, this dotted line is a potential spread of any disease that your birds have. And it goes very quickly. So you can see from your house to your barn.
That looks like my house.
This is a life-size chicken to scale with the barn, as you can see. But
It's perspective.
even things, what?
Perspective.
Perspective. Yeah. Your truck. That was a big thing people didn't think about. But if you like drive near your barn and then your tires suddenly have like chicken poop on them and there's potentially a disease in that chicken poop, and then you park at the feed store and someone else parks there and gets your chicken poop on their tires and drives to their farm down here, which is invisible. Potentially, if there was avian flu at this farm, it's now at this other person's, and those birds never came in contact.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Same with shoes. I tried to draw shoes, but I got embarrassed because they were bad. So, but if you're wearing boots and you go feed your chickens and then you go somewhere and you're walking around and someone else that has chickens is walking around there, there's potential that they bring it back to their birds.
I mean,
microscopic.
There's potential for a lot. I feel like within my studies of, thank you.
We'll leave that there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of this virus, I mean, it's influenza A, right? It can adapt really like before, like it couldn't even go to cattle and stuff, and so and now it can, and it's just kind of adapting more and more. And there's not much of a like risk, especially like human to human transmission. There's no known things that I know about it, but it could happen. I feel like a lot of avian influenzas, well, it could happen, but you're fine right now.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the reaction to avian influenza, whether it's the government's reaction or just normal workers like how you were, is pretty reactive. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts while you were talking that were coming up, but I mean the biggest reason to kind of bring it back, the reason that we did all of that surveillance and why that was my full-time job, to survey for a disease that we probably weren't going to find but sometimes did, is because of exactly what you're saying. Like the response has to be reactive because it's so quickly moving that there's not a lot. I mean, there's this preventative piece like biosecurity. The reason that is so important and the surveillance are so important is because that kind of like reactivity is all we have to respond. The high mortality, most of the time avian influenza, by the time we find it, like 90% of a flock is affected, and most of the time it's found like post-mortem, so like a bunch of birds die,
Mhm.
we test them post-mortem,
Mhm.
and they had avian flu. So those times that we were catching it on surveillance before they died, it was either a low pathogenic strain
Mm.
or it was like a false, it wasn't actually avian influenza. So all that to say, short version, there isn't a lot that we can do that isn't reactive other than this biosecurity to just prevent the spread, which isn't the same as like preventing the disease at all. It's just preventing the spread once it pops up somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it so tough.
So like you would say like we're doing the right thing right now, which is promoting just PPE, and I don't know, being reactive. Like what would you say?
Yes, I'd say yes. And more than PPE, PPE is part of
Oh,
biosecurity, but
and
yes,
measure like
as a whole,
reports and whatnot too.
Biosecurity as a whole, I think, yes, is like the most important thing that we can do right now. And I mean, vaccines for avian flu have been something that's like being explored for a long time, but because it's like so prolific, it can be so highly pathogenic, and it does adapt really quickly. It's hard to have a vaccine. And then the second component of that is like vaccinating mass numbers of birds and like the efficacy of that and efficiency and cost. And there's a lot of factors that kind of balance. I think there's a world where like one day we maybe will vaccinate for avian flu, but much like human flu that we vaccinate for, it's different every year.
Yes.
And even more so, I think it would be a lot of upkeep, and that's why we haven't really been able to get there yet.
Yeah.
So
I feel like a lot of the research that I've been doing is like kind of pointing towards like in the future vaccine development, at least for like heifers or people too. But with avian influenza, it's like a hard no just because of the like trade.
Yep.
I don't know. Like it's such like it's a new thing, and I it's hard to be like, oh, this is the answer.
Yeah, I think another component too is like when an outbreak occurs, it's devastating.
Yeah, like
for
mass,
sure.
and a lot of times they'll do mass culling, which is kind of unethical in my opinion. But I think either way, people are losing money right now.
Yeah.
And is I mean, would you say like that's why egg prices right now are like so high? Is just because
that was definitely an influence. And I hear you on the unethical piece. The reason that mass culling is the response when there's an outbreak is because it's already a basically 100% mortality rate. And so if those birds are going to die anyway, we want to prevent spread. That's kind of the main goal. So but point being, like
you're
really
losing money either way.
Yeah, exactly. It's devastating when it occurs, but because we have the biosecurity measures and culling and these ways to kind of mitigate when it pops up, it's not like widespread enough that like a vaccine in the ways that we could vaccinate right now outweighs and makes it worth it.
And also like I feel like a lot of people don't know like I mean, going on campus here, like there's so many geese and stuff, and there's poop everywhere, like sidewalks and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so, like, I always put my shoes up when I get back to my dorm because I have a cat.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people don't know that. So, like,
biosecurity.
Yeah. And so,
my favorite word.
Well, like, that's what I was gonna ask. Is like, what would you want the general public to know, especially like younger audience? You taught kids.
Yeah.
What's the importance of teaching kids? What's the importance of teaching normal, average day people about avian influenza as it's getting worse, as you know, biosecurity?
Yeah. If I had to boil it down, which the general public would probably appreciate this, don't interact with geese. I think I think that's
they're kind of hard to interact with. But
so that's an easy one. But no, I think just like you're saying, most people just don't recognize that there's like really simple things that they can do. And even if you're not like around birds, obviously there's way more increased risk if you interact with birds in some capacity. But even if you don't, just being mindful of like shoes and clothing and washing your hands and all the things that we
go
hear
to a
about
park where there's birds'
disease
nests
spread.
all around.
Don't
or your dog drinking
geese.
water from a pond or whatever.
very bad. Yeah.
Very bad.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
do that.
Don't drink water from a pond.
Yep, don't do that.
For a lot of reasons. But avian flu could be one of them.
Yeah.
So
I can show you how I
drawing.
draw a chicken.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
All right,
you
so
can compare
who drew better?
the 10-year expert or
Oh, so
I did a really quick one though. You have to do it in 5 seconds.
5 seconds? Okay,
Yeah.
let me pick like my favorite. Well, I'll pick.
Go with orange.
I'll go with orange.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Here you go.
Are you gonna count down? Can
I'll count in my head.
Okay. Ready? 1.
Okay.
Shoot.
I'm giving you 10 seconds.
Okay.
And 3, 2, 1. Oh, wait. You're a cartoon artist. Has anyone
There
ever
we go.
told you?
But it looks like a road runner.
Okay, but mine is to scale. Just remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine is also to scale. It's this big with the little bar.
Really good. I actually think you won, even though it only has
That was one leg.
It's okay.
One leg wonder. And that I think that
Yes,
happens a lot with chickens.
Having one leg?
I don't know.
Not a from the expert.
Actually,
I don't think
take
so.
that back.
Like, I am wrong.
Hey,
Oh,
thank you so
wow,
much,
great.
Jenna, for
Of
helping me with
course.
everything and all your experience, your 10 years of knowledge.
I don't know if I proved it.
No, you did
I'm
great.
passionate about avian flu.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Still.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Thank you. So wanted to send a big thank you to my Aunt Dawn and Uncle Mike for letting me see their chicken coop. Also, thank you, Aunt Dawn, for the Starbucks gift card. Fuel me for finals week. In these next few clips, my Uncle Mike is the one who's recording these blurry chicken videos that you've been seeing throughout this video. These next few clips I just really wanted to add because he's just talking about critters. I'm going to show you what they look like because they are the sweetest individuals ever. And here they are. Thank you so much. Let's get on with the critter talking, okay?
All right, Gracie. So this is our outdoor chicken run in the coop. The critters can't get in. That's because critters kept digging underneath the fence to try to get in there. Critters to get the chickens or critters that wanted to get the chicken food. Poop. Oh yeah, you got to see the sign. You can see the poop accumulates pretty good underneath the roosting bars. So anyways, I think that's about it.